Hi there, Alex here, and on today's video we are gonna refactor a little bit this test. So on the previous video we did add this mocking thing here and here, and personally I think that's a little too much. So we are doing all this mocking thing in this way because we are using Goosle, but doesn't matter if we use Goosle or any other composer package for mocking this client. I think it doesn't matter. For the purpose of the test, all you need is to create a test with that response, and the most easy we do that, the better. So the next developer doesn't need to care. Is it Goosle? Is it any other? It doesn't really matter. So let's try to remove that on this video and make it the simplest possible. Okay, so ideally I would like to have something like this. So I have like a client, and if I do get client with responses, that ideally could give me a client. It doesn't matter if it's Goosle or whatever, it needs to be a HTTP client with that response. Okay, so this shouldn't really matter. So we just do that call, we get the client, and we pass it here. So let's run the test and see what happened. Okay, it's failing. It's saying that it is not finding this function on this namespace, and that's good because we didn't create it yet. So let's do it. Let's open composer.json, and we are gonna have a helper class which will have some functions. It doesn't need to be really a class. All it does is having a function which gives you something, and it's a helper. So we don't need that code needed to be on production, so we can add it here in the autoload dep. So let's add that files, and then we need to pass an array with all the files we want to load. So the file is going to be called test helper.php. That's good. So let's go and create a file, new file. Okay, test helper.php. Good, awesome, we have the file. And before we forget, let's be sure we do a composer dump autoload, because now that file needs to be imported. It is not using the PSR4 or anything, so it's just file which needs to be loaded. So let's do that. Good, that's done. That means that now that file is loaded whenever we do a dep action. So okay, we have this. Then let's create that function, which is gonna be function, and it's gonna return a client. Good. Remember that we don't need public because this is not a class. So let's run the test and see what happened. Okay, and it's failing because we are not returning anything, and it's expecting a client. Let's say return new client. Good. Let's run it, and it's not finding client. Okay, so let's go here and copy client. Okay, we say use that one. Let's run the test, and it is green. How come? So this is a bit weird, and I'm not sure you already got why this is on green. So let's analyze it together. So we are calling here, and we are getting a client which we are passing here, and then it's doing whatever it needs to do, and the response is getting the collection, and all this is passing. But what's happening? So if we go to the helper, we are creating a client, a normal client, which we are returning back. So when we pass it here, it is following the normal flow, because it doesn't matter if it's a mock or whatever. This service will just use the client and will do a get to the endpoint which is meant to do it. So basically we are creating a proper client, we are calling to GitHub, and then we are getting the proper response, which actually is still matching 3. So in fact, if we go to the test, we can see how this increased again to 2.29 seconds when before we were in 44 milliseconds or something like that. So let's be sure we create a mock client. So let's copy this. So we were passing this, and we'll need to do this here. So let's go back to the helper, and let's do this. Good. and we need to return this, so we don't need this. Good. And we also need the mock handler. Okay, so we have the mock. Good. We pass the responses here, which we don't have. Okay, responses. Good. Then we can just remove this. Responses. So we get the responses here as within an array. We create a mock handler with that array of responses. Then we create a handler stack with that mock, and then we create a client with the handler. Good. So let's run the test and see what happened now. Okay, and now it's failing. Mock handler not found. Good. That's because we didn't copy all the dependencies. Let's do it now. Okay, so this one are required. So let's copy them. Good. Let's run the test and see if we move. And good, we are back in green. We are now taking 43 milliseconds, which is something good. So we can't still remove these dependencies because we have the second test still using the previous approach. So let's do the same. Let's copy this and say like we gonna have this client which is gonna have an array of responses. Good. And the response is gonna be this one. Good. Let's remove everything which is not required anymore. And still in green, which is good. So let's be sure we align this as well. Good. And this one as well. Okay, so still we have here setting the scenario, running the scenario, and asserts. Here is the same, so we are setting the scenario here. Okay, good. This seems okay to me. So I think now we can get rid of this, and this. We cannot get rid of this one because we are creating a new response. So let's run the test and be sure we are not breaking anything. Okay, and we are in. So back to green, back to normal times, which is good. So let's be sure that if we change 404 to be 200, it fails. So let's be sure that what we are testing is actually working. Okay, and it is failing, which is good. It is failing on this test, which is the one we just modified, and the error is a bit confusing, but it is basically because we are now passing a 200, which is not throwing an exception, and then we are not passing any body. It is expecting to have a JSON, and as it is not, then the JSON the code is failing. So let's revert the chain. Okay, 404, let's run the test. All green, all good. So that's it for today. This is enough for this video. I hope you like it. Please let me know your feedback on the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you will be up to date with every new video. I hope you like all these series. See you on the next one.